Hello and welcome to Picture This Thought. Today I wanted to talk about contentment, which is why I picked this picture of some rusty old chains. That might seem quite an odd choice when thinking about contentment. I wonder what comes into your mind when you hear the word. Well, today it's a lovely sunny bank holiday and there are lots of people in the park enjoying picnics and playing games with family. There are people sitting in cafes enjoying cappuccinos, reading a good book. And maybe that's the kind of image that you have in your mind. And in a sense, we're all sort of striving for contentment, aren't we? Our society paints a picture of what the contented life looks like. Maybe it's, good job, house, car, nice garden, good holidays. Those are the sorts of things that we expect will make us feel content. But actually, biblical contentment is really, really different. I was reading a passage in Acts, which is the account of the growth of the early church. And it was about when Paul and Silas were put into prison on one of their missionary trips. The account says that they were stripped and beaten, they were severely flogged and thrown into this prison without any kind of trial. And because the guards were so worried about them, they put them in an inner cell, so it probably wouldn't have even had any natural light. And for an extra measure, they put their feet in the stocks. So think about Paul and Silas. They were blooded, they were bruised, they were beaten, they were humiliated, they were chained, and they were heavily guarded. And yet, what did they do? Well, in their situation, I would have been very tempted to be despondent, to be despairing, to be miserable. But no, they turned and worshipped God. In fact, they were singing songs of praise to God that could be heard by the other prisoners. A little while later, Paul wrote the book of Philippians to a young church in Philippi while he was in prison. And he said that he'd learnt to be content in any and every situation. Now, the secret that Paul knew was the secret far greater than material success or security or comfort. He knew how to be content in every circumstance, whether he was being flogged and beaten, whether he was being rejected, or whether things were going well. He knew that actually if we know Christ and we know love and acceptance in God through him, then we can have a joy and a peace which passes all understanding. He knew that that is what life is all about and that that is what gives us deep and rich contentment. So that's the thought for today. Let me pray. Lord, I pray for all of us that we wouldn't get seduced by the world's idea of what it means to be contented. I pray that our contentment wouldn't wane with difficult circumstances, but I pray that it would be rooted in knowing you. Help us to truly be able to rejoice in spite of the circumstances that we're going through, because we have the greater treasure of relationship with you and the hope of the life to come. Amen. Well, that's it for today. Thanks very much for listening.